So here we are, we are converting a decimal back to the fraction. How would we go that way? So one way of doing this is correctly naming the or correctly saying the decimal out loud correctly. So, and this requires that you remember the place value of each decimal place. So this is the 10th place, the one decimal place. The common misconception is that the ones place, but or once or whatever, but it's not. It's a tenth, and then because it has to be a tenth of the previous base, and then this is the hundredth. So this is tenths, and then this is the hundredths place. And then the third place value would be your thousandths place. Thousandths. The THS, thousandths place, and so on. And then, so the next place value would be a tenth of a thousandth. So you'd multiply that by 10. So it'd be the 10,000th place. So you get it 10 times 10 was 100, times 10 was 1,000, times 10 would be 10,000. So that would be the 10,000th place, and so on. So anyways, those are the place values for your decimals. And so that's how you would just put that place value wherever the last digit lands. That's where you would put that name back, the name for it. So like if you had a number ones like this, then all I would do is I would find what is this place value. And we said above, this place value is a thousandths place. So it'd say 751 thousandths. So 700. So I kind of just read the number like it's a whole number and then add the place value at the last farthest to the right decimal place. So 700. And then we would say 1,000 with a I think it's DTH, or maybe it's just TH. DTH, thousandths place. Yeah, okay, yeah, I believe that's correct, Valiant. But the way that would look as a fraction would be 751, just the number as a whole number, over, and this is 1,000, so it'd be 1,000. There you go. So that's what this one would be written as a fraction. Here's an alternative way to doing this. If you don't know your place values very well, or if you have trouble with this method, another way to do it is any decimal. So let's just write it out like like 0.651. What you do is what you can do is you can make the decimal into a lowercase I. So this is what I mean. So like, see the lowercase symbol of an I? It's not an uppercase I, it's a lowercase I. And the decimal point is the dot on your I. So that's what you do. You just draw a line under the decimal place. Then you draw a line, the fraction bar. You draw a line through the decimal. Now the decimal's gone. And then for every number that was originally, the decimal was here, right? Every number that was originally every decimal place, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers that were to the right of the decimal. For every one of those, you put a 0 under it, and now it's a fraction. Now no longer this decimal is gone, and now we know that we can write that number as a fraction, 651 over 10,000. That's another little trick, a way how to turn any decimal into a fraction. Also, just really quickly, if you also had a whole number portion to the fraction. So let me just redo this problem up here. What if we had 3751? What if we had that number? Well, you could just ignore the whole number for a minute and then just turn the decimal into a fraction just like you would. 751. So if I do my new method, I would make this into a lowercase I, and then I would draw a line, and then I would draw zeros under all the things that were to the right of the decimal originally. And then this would be this 0.751 as a fraction would be that, just like we saw above. But then with the whole number 3, with this whole number, I would just put it in the front. And now it's like a mixed number, 3 wholes and 751 thousandths. That's how we would see it as because part of it's a whole number and part of it's a whole, so it's it looks like a mixed number. So 3 and 751 thousandths. So there you go. All right. Hope you found this valuable.